Coming up on Need to Know, a new Bollywood-style movie filmed in Rochester is a creative approach to discussing a tough taboo topic, suicide among Buthanese refugees living in the U.S. We'll discuss why it's happening and local efforts to prevent it. Also on the program, it's part 2 of our series, Understanding the Affordable Care Act. The question today, do employees have the option to look for health insurance from someone other than their employer? Stay tuned for the answer. And the change agents are back on the show. These young entrepreneurs have a special invitation for viewers this holiday season, and they're challenging you to give back. It's all coming up right now on Need to Know. The land of the free and the home of the brave may take on a different meaning for the tens of thousands of Buthanese refugees who have resettled in the U.S., including the Rochester area. One of the fastest growing refugee populations in America is dealing with a suicide issue. According to a study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the issue is endemic. Why is this happening? What role, if any, does the so-called American dream play? And what creative approaches are being implemented to address a difficult topic in the Buthanese culture, mental health? Joining me to discuss this issue is Prejeet Magar, Executive Director of the Buthanese Community of Greater Rochester, Jim Sutton, Director of Community Medicine at Rochester Regional Health System, and Karan Thapa, a Buthanese peer counselor at Rochester Regional Health System and the President of the Buthanese Community of Greater Rochester. I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Buthanese refugees in Rochester have dealt with, and from my understanding, are still reeling from one local suicide. And since 2008, when the U.S. began resettling Buthanese refugees from camps in Nepal, there have been approximately 55 suicides on U.S. soil. I've read some believe the number is higher than that. And Prejeet and Karan, the question I'm sure many viewers want to know is, and I'm sure the answers are deep and there are many layers to the answer, is why is this happening? And how does this happen after the transition from life in a refugee camp to life here in America?
Okay. The first thing is depression, as everybody knows that depression is the primary cause for suicide. But in our case, I would say isolation. People come here with dream, and once they're totally isolated and they can't really be as free as they used to be, that is one of the reasons. Hopelessness is another one. They come here with hope, dream, and they come here with the dream that it's a new luck for them. It's a good luck. It's a fortune to be here. But once they start feeling that, once they start to get such huge big challenges, then those dreams, those hopes, those luck, they will curse on that. So when people start cursing their luck, that's the point where people give up. And that's one of the reasons. And there are other reasons, could be like, I don't want to say drug, but probably alcohol abuse could be a reason. In our society, pride and self-guilt is another reason, because pride plays a big role in the community, in our society. So, for example, you gamble, you're used to with gambling, for example, let's say, just an example. You have drug and alcohol abuse problem. That has to do a lot with demolishing the pride of your family, and that leads to suicide. One of the reasons only. So other than that, yeah, hopelessness, solitude, and depression.
So it sounds like that pursuit of the American dream is also, it's a double-edged sword in essence. And I want to ask you this, Jim, and I want to tie this in terms of addressing some of these issues that Prejeet brought up and the depression. How difficult, or what makes it difficult for doctors here in the U.S. to diagnose some of those very issues that he addressed, the emotional and mental health issues of a Buthanese patient?
It's very difficult. If you think about it, a broken leg or a heart attack, the treatment of that's very scientifically based and can be transferred across humans, you know, in any country. But behavioral issues, mental health issues are very culturally based, and you know, the language and the way we approach mental health in the U.S. is much different than in other cultures. And so it's not uncommon for a U.S. traditional patient to come in and say, "I feel a little depressed. You know, I think I need to go see a therapist." You're not going to get that from a patient from Bhutan. They think about it differently, they talk about it differently, and it can be very difficult to have that conversation with them and really start to get to the root cause of what's going on with them.
I want to give just some numbers from a CDC study. The suicide rate among Buthanese living in the United States is 20.3 per 100,000 people, and that's nearly double the rate for U.S. residents. It's also higher than the global suicide rate at 16 per 100,000 people. Karan, we hear the numbers. How is the local Buthanese community responding? What are the reactions? Is there a sense of fear that the trend could continue? Are discussions taking place within the community?
Yes, there is a fear among the people, not only in Rochester, but all across the U.S., that this trend may continue, because seeing the number given by the CDC, that it's double the rate in comparison to what it is in the U.S. Yes, the trend may continue. I also feel like that, because as Prajit already pointed out, some of the reasons behind people committing suicide here in the U.S. And yes, community in Rochester has come up, they have stepped up and started taking some actions, in the sense we all started in the closed room meeting in my apartment, when I had called a couple of friends first to come and discuss about what's going on with regard to committing suicide, because we already had one case here in Rochester. And we had only moderate number of participants at that time. And I also didn't have that courage to invite everyone, because suicide in our community back in Nepal, or especially in Bhutan also, there's a social stigma attached to it. But in my experience, when I called a couple of friends at that time for a meeting, I found them to be very receptive, and so they are breaking out of the bond of stigma today, and people are ready to talk about it, because they have felt the need to step up and do something in order to stop this from happening. And yes, Bhutanese community across U.S., they have also started doing some mental health counseling programs, so which I attended one recently this year in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So people are all ready to curb action against committing suicide. And also, yes, people are today very aware that there is some help. So people can go and share their feelings and approach to someone so that they can seek help. Because it only needs a single reason for people to commit suicide. And some of the reasons have already been quoted by Prajit.
I want to talk about one effort that's underway to help, and it's very creative. It's a Bollywood-style film that was done here in Rochester, and to really raise awareness and to bring about dialogues, and you mentioned this, to step out of that box and to approach this in a creative way. And so I want to understand, why Bollywood style? Tell me about the decision to kind of go after that genre as opposed to a more serious genre to bring about these discussions.
Yes, I came up with the idea of having to come together and create awareness among the people. And the Bollywood style movie that's been done to create awareness among the people is done by one of our friends who has been an artist in Nepali Hollywood industry. But why Bollywood style? It could be because everybody or whoever is known to the world of movies is known to or attached somehow to Bollywood style, because Bollywood movies are very popular in our area. They are in Bhutan, in Nepal, So of course we share India, we share common border with India. So that's where from Bollywood movie comes from. Yes. So everybody watches YouTube movies, so it's mostly Bollywood movie style. So to make it catchy and more understandable, and make it like easier for people to access to it, and also understand, have the better grasp of the idea.
Jim, I want to ask you, what role does the local health community play in all of this? Why there are mental health care treatment there that is available to refugee populations here. Is mental health literacy needed? Is there something more that can be done to break down the barriers for these conversations in addition to approaches such as this?
Much more needs to be done, and efforts like this are just wonderful. And what we did a few years ago is we started hiring some people called peer counselors, which are previously resettled refugees that meet new refugees coming into Rochester and develop a relationship with them and start working on some of the assimilation issues. And we've discovered that to get to the root of this problem, it's not the traditional, I think you need to see a therapist and be on some medicines. It's more getting into the community and having them have an understanding of what's going on and having them kind of lift themselves up and normalize the situation themselves. And so what we're trying to do as a healthcare community is support and promote these type of activities, because we know it's going to have a big effect down the road.
Prajit, we've got about 30 seconds left, not enough time, but just to close, we have viewers that care, and they watch this, and on the community level, they'll say, what can we do to help, even in the transition of refugees who come here, to help beyond 3 months, to make it a better transition for them? What would you say?
Give them sense of belonging.
A sense of belonging.
Yes, hope. Giving job is not enough. How are you treated in your job? What role have you been playing? Do you know the signs and symptoms of suicide? Can you be responsible? Would you take responsibility before it's too late? These are the things that community could help us with.
Karan Thapa, Jim Sutton, and Prajit Magar, thank you all for your time today. For more information on what you just heard or how you can get involved with suicide prevention efforts for the Buthanese community of Greater Rochester, connect with the group through Facebook. Members can be reached at facebook.com/BCGRNYORG. This week, the state of New York extended the deadline for sign-up for health insurance from December 15th to December 20th, citing extreme winter weather since open enrollment launched on November 15th. The insurance will go into effect on the first of the year. WXXI's Understanding the Affordable Care Act series is focused on bringing you updates about the new health care law online, on the radio, and here on Need to Know. Lead producer on this project, Michelle Faust, is here to talk about what options employees have when they receive insurance through their employer, but would rather be insured elsewhere.
Thank you, Helen. Today's question for our Understanding the Affordable Care Act series comes from Leah Ferrante. Leah gets her insurance from her employer, a large beverage company. But this year, the required employee contribution increased. She'd like to know if there are other options for her insurance through the state marketplace. Ferrante wants to find out where she can find the most affordable insurance options.
My name is Leah Ferrante. I am a salesperson for a beverage distributing company, and my question is, if I'm not currently satisfied with my employer's health insurance, do I have other options in the New York State marketplace? For the same plan as I was on last year, if I were to do it again this year, it would be 63% increase. And that would be difficult for me financially, and I would like to have more options. I've been considering what to do about my health insurance for a while, but most recently, when I received the information that it was increasing so much, that's when I really started to dig down into the details. If I was to go on my husband's plan, it's usually more expensive to add a dependent, or if the same as if he were to go on my plan. It turns out to be a better option for us to stay with our own companies. We are very concerned about the monthly costs. We are new homeowners, and we have a lot of expenses in that area that were unexpected. So we like to keep our unexpected finances as low as possible. Currently, I do not have any major health concerns. So I just want a peace of mind knowing that I won't have to go in high debt just because something happens to me.
With us to discuss Ferrante's question is Michael King, principal at Century Benefits Group. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
Before we get to Leah's question, which is an important question and very common for people who have spoken to WXXI and our ACA project, let's talk about the cost increase for her insurance. She said 60% increase over last year for her traditional health plan. Is that typical?
No, it's not. That seems to be on the high side. Most plans now are averaging between 8 to 15% increases pretty much across New York State for an annual cost.
Okay. Now, let's go to her question. She is, we spoke before that it's dependent. The answer to her question is dependent on several factors that are related to her employer. Right now, employers with more than 100 employees are mandated to provide insurance. In 2016, that'll apply to employers with more than 50 employees. How does the size of her place of work relate to her ability to use the marketplace and get her own outside plan?
The key is if her employer has over 100 employees next year, they are required to offer health insurance to all of their eligible employees who work over 30 hours a week. Or pay a penalty if they don't offer insurance. The key provision is that in order for her to use the marketplace to obtain a plan, the cost of insurance cannot be more than 9.5% of her income on an annual basis. If it is more than 9.5% of her income based on a single plan, she can go to the exchange and get a subsidy. However, it's usually rare. If the employer contributes money towards the plan, it's for most intents and purposes, most employees will find that they cannot get a subsidy on the exchange because the employer offers a plan that costs them either 9.5% or less than their income.
What about someone who works in a workplace with 50 or less or 30 or less employees?
That's a good question. They have a choice. If an employer offers a plan, those individuals can look at the cost of the plan at their employer, or they can use the marketplace as an exchange for their health plan. And sometimes the marketplace gives subsidies based on your income, based on your family status. So the subsidy may be greater than what the employer is contributing towards the plan.
So if you work in a small place, a small office, it might make sense to make that comparison on the marketplace.
Definitely. For groups less than 50 employees, it definitely works making the comparison.
Okay. Well, yesterday I spoke with Leah. She told me that she decided to go with a high deductible plan. So she was on a traditional plan before. The policy is becoming more and more popular. We're seeing more and more high deductible. I actually read a survey done by Mercer of employee-sponsored health plans that said nearly 50%, 48% of employers across the country are offering these types of plans. So how does that benefit an employer to offer a high deductible plan, and what about the employee that chooses that plan? What are those
actually,
benefits?
high deductible plans have become very attractive. Actually, I have one myself. And what's happening is healthcare costs is increasing year after year. If you think about it, your traditional copay plans, we're buying insurance on routine things with typical copay plans. Doctor versus lab work, blood test. Really, what the high deductible plan says is let's pay cash for those small items that are routine and use the insurance for more catastrophic. That's becoming the way with the future. And it's beneficial to the employee and the employer because there's a lower cost plan, obviously. The employees also have the opportunity to establish a health savings account to offset some of those deductibles that they may have to pay as time goes on. But it is becoming an attractive feature. If you understand the cost of health care going up and up and up, why are we paying for things that are routine, that happen every month, every 6 months, doctor visits, lab work, blood tests? Let's ensure the catastrophic things more so.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about the employer mandate. That's something that's been very controversial. Sure. But there was a recent article in Politico that suggested that despite the initial projections that employers would start dropping coverage because of this mandate, they're saying that the improved economy is making employers whether they like the mandate or not, move more towards that to attract more employees. And especially now with the unemployment rate down to 6%. Are you seeing that with your clients?
Yeah, most of our clients are not dropping their insurance. Most of our large clients are keeping their insurance because they want to attract and retain good employees. That's the key behind it. I will say that employer-sponsored plans cost less than an individual plan on the marketplace. About 15 to 20% difference in cost. So that's a real benefit of the employer plans. The second major benefit is that employee contributions that you may contribute towards the plan are pre-tax from payroll, not subject to federal, state, or FICA tax, versus if you buy an individual plan on your own, you're going to be paying with after-tax dollars.
So we're coming up to the end of the year, and briefly in our last question, people are going to have a lot of ACA questions when it comes to taxes. What do you think are going to be the biggest things that people need to be looking at?
It's a couple things. Obviously, you need to talk to their accountant, okay, to understand how that works. If they're going to choose a plan, they should talk to a qualified, licensed, certified broker or navigator that's available here in Monroe County, okay? At the same time, the good news is that the exchange is still open until Saturday. It was supposed to close on December 15th. They extended it till Saturday. So people still have a chance to go on the exchange, shop for insurance, and possibly look at buying a plan on the exchange.
Thank you very much for joining us. That was Michael King from Century Benefits Group. We appreciate your insight today. You can see more questions and answers connected to this series on our website, WXXI.org/ACA. That's where you can read our reporting on the topic and ask us any of your own questions by taking our ACA survey or by sending us an email at acawxxi@wxxi.org. We keep you posted with news updates on social media as well with our hashtag ACAWXXI. And you can also follow me on Twitter at MICHE Reports.
Albert Einstein once said, "Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile." That giving spirit seems to be central to the lives of local brothers Jeremiah and Joshua West. You may remember these young entrepreneurs known as the Change Agents. They're not strangers to this program. During their last visit, they shared the backstory of their book, Champions of Change, Live to Give, and they're writing workshops with students around the country. Well, they're back, and this time they come with a special invitation for the community. It's to their upcoming Hats for the Homeless holiday party. So let's get all the details from 9-year-old Jeremiah and 7-year-old Joshua West. And it's great to have you back.
Thank you for having us.
So the last time I got to see both of you was at WXXI's screening of Schools for South Sudan. You were at the Little Theater, and it was great to see you then. And I understand since then you have been very, very busy, and I want to hear all about it. I'm sure viewers want updates. So let's start with Thanksgiving, okay? Because I hear that you gathered a few other change agents together and you went to work. So tell me what you did through the Feed a Family program.
So this was our first year doing it. So we were only hoping to serve 10 families. But my brother Joshua will tell you a little bit of the logistics.
Okay.
Me and my brother, we were thinking we would only serve 10 families, but we wound up doing 42 families for Thanksgiving.
Wow, so 42 families. And I did see photographs, and I saw bags and bags of food that you brought to different families throughout the city. Were you actually there when some of them were hand-delivered?
Yes, we actually hand-delivered 2 of the baskets because we went to a women's shelter, and then so we gave them bags, but only 2 of them we were able to give them bags.
And you joined forces with this. Also, you had a busy summer, so we're going to move back a little bit more. You joined forces with Mayor Lovely Warren. You had a fundraiser for a young boy battling cancer, and the list goes on. So let's start with the mayor, okay? Because you're on this mission. You've been on this mission to get more young people your age to read and to improve literacy rates for young people here in Rochester, also throughout the country. And you partnered with the city of Rochester, and you did this through a summer reading contest. So tell me, what was it like partnering with the mayor on something like this?
So we had our first meeting with the mayor in May, and so she bought over 1,000 books for the kids because we have a book creation station where kids can write their own books. And so we had a winner he's in the 7th grade. His name is Michael Whitfield. He goes to Rochester Prep, and he was just so excited. He was the winner of the contest, and his book's going to get published.
And I want to know, in terms of convincing and proving to your peers the importance of reading and how fun reading can be, What do you do, Joshua? What do you say to try to convince them that reading is important and you should try it for yourselves?
Well, you should just read because it's really very educational.
Very educational, it's very true. And you also held a major fundraiser as well this summer. It was for a young boy named Cameron. He's battling pediatric cancer. How did you learn about Cameron and his condition? So
we were at a Black Heritage event selling our book, and a lady came up to us and she said, I want to buy this book for my great-grandson. He is battling cancer and he's up in the hospital right now. And so that really touched our hearts, and we decided we should help raise at least $1,000 for his medical bills. And Joshua will tell you how much we actually raised.
How much?
We raised over $2,000 for his medical bills.
Oh my goodness. And I'm sure in the process, both of you have a lifetime friend in Cameron.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I want to transition a little bit because we've got this Hats for the Homeless holiday party, okay? And you're on this mission. You want people to donate toiletries, hats, gloves, scarves, socks to our local homeless population, in particular for those living in downtown Rochester. And it's all part of this party. It's your year 2 of doing this party at the Central Library. Why do you believe that this is important to do?
I believe it's important to do because we think God honors giving, and we just want to give back and show people the love of Christ.
And Joshua, why do you think people should get involved and support this effort? Why should the local community get involved?
Because we should love people as we love ourselves, and we should treat people like we treat ourselves.
So for people watching right now and they're saying, what can I do to help, or I want to get involved, or what's going to happen, what's going to be, what will take place at this holiday party, what would you tell them?
We would just tell them, just give from your heart and really just bless these people because they don't have a lot. So the logistics of this event is there's going to be hats, gloves, there's going to be scarves, there's going to be a blessing bag for the homeless with toiletries inside. We're going to have pizzas, we're going to have a lot of food. We have a DJ, Brian White. He's going to DJ for us. He's going to donate his time. We're going to have barbers for this. So we're just really excited because we get to bless these homeless people and give back to our community.
Well, when it comes to the end of the year, people oftentimes will look back over the past several months and think about what they've learned and what they've achieved and the experiences that they've had. And they also think about the new year and what they hope the new year will bring. And I want to know, what are both of you hoping to do and to achieve in 2015?
In 2015, what we're going to do is we have a Read to Feed program. The Read to Feed program is because what we found out is that kids who are impoverished, they don't have many books. So we want to feed them and give them unlimited access to books. And our tagline is Feeding Hungry Minds.
Joshua and Jeremiah West, a pleasure to have you back on the program, and we wish you much success with your upcoming party and your goals for 2015.
Thank you so much.
So we've got all the details for the Change Agents Hats for the Homeless holiday party this weekend. Do not miss it. It's Sunday, December 21st at the Central Library in downtown Rochester in the Kate Gleason Auditorium. That's from 1:30 to 4 p.m. To learn all about what you can do or what you can donate to this effort, go to championsofchangeusa.org. And that's it for this edition of Need to Know. I'm Helene Biganduti-Hofer. Thank you for joining me. And as always, thank you for supporting news and public affairs programming on WXXI. We'll see you next time.